Dean and Head of the Faculty, lovely Faculty of Applied Medical Sciences. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for introducing me. And in fact, to be very honest with you, this is a dream come true moment for me. I have been after Dr. Suresh Mani for a long time. Whenever he used to talk of any webinars or any kind of FDPs, he was attending. I used to tell him, you know, you are so accomplished, you are so knowledgeable. Why don't you also conduct? So I have been after him for almost a year now. So it is a dream come true for me. And another thing is the topic he is chosen is, you know, very, very pertinent in these pandemic times. I am not the advice of the doctors or physiotherapists as such. So telephysiotherapy title from Dr. Suresh Mani comes at a very, very appropriate time. I was very happy to see the contents of his webinar. You know, the first thing we have in our mind, the moment we say telemedicine,
Some bandwidth issue, ma'am.
I guess there are some bandwidth issues.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but we'll definitely, once again, if she's back on board, we will hand over the proceedings and floor to her. But again, she has given her blessings and a go-ahead signal for us to do an initiative, which probably was her dream come true, as she mentioned it. Some important information I would like to share with each one of you. This is regarding the attendance. You've been given a link of a Google form. My request and submission is, please copy that link and paste it in a browser to get an access to the Google form and mark your attendance. All those who have not been able to do so can do it. All those who may not have received this email are requested to please get it forwarded from the friends who may have received it. At the end of the program, we are going to have, as per the UGC mandate, the post-training evaluation based on today's interaction. And again, you have to copy this link, os.lpu.in, and paste it, the test in any browser. The test name is here as Telephysiotherapy May 9. Please ensure that you do that. You can use your UMS login credentials for attempting the test. For faculty, it is the UID, and for the students, I think it is the ID and whatever their password of the UMS is. So this link will be only available from 4:30 onwards to 7:30 today. It's just a 20-minute test, so I would want you to do that and do it without opening other windows, because otherwise the OS system will shut down and you may not be able to complete your test. Feedback link, we are requesting you to please do give your feedback on UMS navigation, Human Resource Development Center, Training Management System, and feedback. So this is, as of now, has Dr. Monica joined again?
yeah, I'm sorry, there was some disconnection problem.
Yes, sir. So now we hand it back to Dr. Monica for her address.
Yeah, so what I was basically talking was there is always some skepticism regarding the online kind of consultation when medical or physiotherapy treatment is concerned. So I am very happy to share that the first thing Dr. Suresh Mani is going to handle today is the validation and reliability of telephysiotherapy. So Dr. Suresh Mani, I hope that, you know, in this COVID era and post-COVID era, your expertise in telephysiotherapy is going to be there and going to be solidly there. So all the best from my side.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your.
And I hope that the audience gets a lot of knowledge from here. Thank you so much. Please start with the
I'm
presentation.
sure, definitely, I'm sure we are going to have the best of it. So again, coming back to the few of the announcements that we had to make. So these announcements are again on your screen. Again, my request is to mark the attendance, copy and paste the email link, the Google form link that has been given. Same goes for the OS system, copy and paste it in a browser to get an access to it. And but now, not standing between you and the eminent resource person, let me formally welcome and introduce webinars which are meaningful and helpful for us and for the knowledge that we can accumulate at a distance. He has more than 19 years of experience in industry, academic, and research. He's been awarded the most impactful e-health solution for tele-PT cysts by the Telemedicine Innovation Challenge in 2017 in Malaysia. He is head of the physiotherapy department of lovely Professional University and also currently working on various research areas on smart plantar insole for enhancing 8 parameters in total knee arthroplasty and transcranial stimulation. He is a doctor of philosophy in physiotherapy from Malaysia and has more than 16 publications in journals of national and international repute. His key research focus areas are telerehabilitation, cortical plasticity, gait biomechanics, leprosy notice, disability, community-based rehabilitation, cancer rehab, hand rehabilitation, and limb load symmetry. These are some of the few of the various expertise areas that we're focusing on. Now, I would like to hand over to the keynote speaker, the resource person of the day. Welcome on board, Dr. Suresh Mani.
First of all, thank you very much, ma'am, for the encouraging words. I think it has been, a wonderful journey since I joined here. Always, supporting from your side, pushing us, beyond our limit. That is one of the key, we are shining all the time. So thank you, sir, and once again for you as well for the wonderful, kind words. So this is the first kind of presentation, the webinar, which is very importantly, very specifically for the current scenario of pandemic, COVID pandemics. I think someone is already, sharing some screen. I mean, if you are the participant, please stop sharing your screen here. I think I'm getting a lot of incoming requests. So I'm going to share my screen now. And everyone can see my screen?
Sorry. Yes.
I hope, it's visible to everyone. Is it visible now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As I said, today's webinar is going to about the telephysiotherapy. In Greek word, the tele means it's like a distance, right? So we provide the telephysiotherapy, means you provide physiotherapy services by our information communication technology to the people, those who are separated by distance. There are other terminologies commonly used in this area is tele-rehabilitation. So again, it's similar kind of providing rehabilitation services to the people, those who are separated by the distance using the information communication technology. So what is the main objectives of this presentation, of this webinar is to understand the demand for physiotherapy workforce and services in our community, and also to understand the validity and the reliability of The third objective of this presentation is to understand the efficacy of telephysiotherapy for the management of musculoskeletal conditions. So these are the three objectives that's going to see in this presentation. So let us start with India. It's one of the economic superpowers, emerging economic superpower at the rate of 7% GDP. When you see this amount of spending on healthcare, it is 1.29% of GDP of public health. But when you see the other developed countries, much more higher spending on healthcare. Having said that, the life expectancy, it is enormously increased from 43.7 years in 1965 to 68.6 in 2006. So it shows the integrity of our healthcare system and also expansion in the innovation and the services offered in our healthcare system. So it is the Indians are living longer, as compared with 1965 now. It's very, very important now. I mean, I look at this, the entire world is in the process of, population transition. This is not only for India, this is around the globe. When you see this graph, on the left side, India 1995, and you see this, the number of older people over 60 as compared with the 2010, it's marginally increased. But whereas when you compare this in projected increase in older populations in 2025, it almost around 28 billion people are going to live in older populations. In 2050, it's much more than what we are expecting. Large number of elderly populations in India. So what is the fact here? What we understand here, the increase in population transition. So we have increased the risk of developing age-related neurological, musculoskeletal, and cardiovascular disorders. So when you see, I mean, on the other hand, the non-communicable disorders. In developing countries, the non-communicable disorders affects over 55 years. But in India, because of this lifestyle changes, it start occur less than 45 years. It means that 1 decade less than Western countries or developed countries. And particularly, the stroke, it's reported, it's very, very high mortality and morbidity rates. So this is very, very important. Communicable, non-communicable disorder, they are increasing in very high rate. So that leads to kind of a disability that needs to address in future. But this presentation is primarily going to talk about the musculoskeletal disorders in terms of tele-rehab or telephysiotherapy. We must understand why musculoskeletal disorders. The musculoskeletal disorders having a high prevalence rate. It affects approximately 1.7 billion people around the world. It causes, it stands second on the disability. Global prevalence is around 20 to 33%. Second, position of all the 25 causes of disability. Among these musculoskeletal disorders, we commonly encounter this low back pain, which is 6 positions, and the neck pain, which is stand at the 21 position of the total burden of disabilities. But when you talk about India specific, there are very, very few number of prevalence studies has been reported. In 2012, it's reported that community-based prevalence is 20% of populations having this musculoskeletal pain disorders. When I talk about this occupational specific, it is increased around 90%. So the occupational specific musculoskeletal pain disorders, so 90% of people develop musculoskeletal disorders. And in specific, if I see another literatures in rural homemakers, 41% of rural homemakers, housewives, they develop musculoskeletal disorders. The second problems is associated with the musculoskeletal disorders. It's the demand for the PT service. So we getting, number of the population that we have in India and the number of musculoskeletal prevalences, we have this increase in demand of physiotherapy services. But the always, one we could understand the quality of services by comparing with patient therapist ratio, right? When you see this, the developed countries, in UK and Australia, we have one therapist for 3,000 populations, right? In Thailand, it's one therapist for 8,000 populations. In Malaysia, one therapist for 13,000 populations. But in India, the statistics is not, it's not available, but it says like over, 1 lakh physiotherapists are working in India. But if you see our population, we have, lack of, physiotherapy workforce and also services, especially in rural and urban regions. So this is the, one of the graph where it shows the practicing physical therapists or physiotherapists for, 10,000 populations. When you see this, the India and other, parts of the world. So when you see this America, they have, 25% of, populations, percentage of services by physical therapists. The third problem is associated with the musculoskeletal problem is a geographical locations. India is very large, many towns and villages, but living in the rural areas, you see, 70% of population of India, it lives in rural areas. It's equal to 83.3 crore of people. They're living in rural areas. This another problem associated with the musculoskeletal disorders is economic burden. It puts immense pressure on our nation economy. So because it is through the significant consumption of healthcare services, work absenteeisms and lost wages and work compensations. The statistics says in America, it is from the musculoskeletal disorders alone, it's around 332 billions spent on these musculoskeletal disorders. As another statistics shows, the national insurance claim in Korea, it accounts 28.2% for musculoskeletal disorders. So when you compare this, when you see these problems which is associated with the musculoskeletal disorder, we have a high prevalence rate, scarcity of physiotherapy services, geographical location of the patients, and also economic burdens. So, but the tele is provides, can be, through tele, we can able to address the scarcity of services. We can deliver services, those who are in need are not separated by the distance. And also we can able to, provide, services, those who are in need. So first of all, we should understand what is tele, or what is telephysiotherapy, or what is telerehabilitation. I said tele means a distance. So this is a subtype under the telemedicine. It is the application of consultative, preventive, diagnostic, and therapeutic services. So not only you are giving the interventions, you're providing the consultations, preventive measures or educations, diagnosing a condition or the physical conditions, and therapeutic services via two-way communication technology. So this is, one must understand tele can provide the various services through information communication technology. So before we proceed further, one, we should understand what is the benefit of physiotherapy, telephysiotherapy. So there are literatures that are available. It is helps in significant reduction in healthcare cost. There was a study is done on this heart failure. So they found those who are involved in home-based exercise via tele, they have a reduction in healthcare cost. In addition to this, it is increases to healthcare. It is increased to access to physiotherapy services, especially those who are bedridden or terminally ill patients, especially in cancer patients. They found this there is a reduction in pain as well as they have improved in quality of life. In addition to this, the tele would helps in a reduction in travel time and the expenditure that incurred on travels. It's very, very important. The final point is the telephysiotherapy supports the current physiotherapy services. For example, it's going to be act as an adjunct, in the current physiotherapy practice, so that when the therapists want to use, this adjunct services, when they may not able to reach out to the patients. So again, the same question again, why, what is the evidence it's available in the literatures? Why tele rehabilitation or tele physiotherapy essential? And number one is it has improved the access to physiotherapy services in home environment. Second one, the literature shows that tele would improve the functional mobility in patients with neurological problems, musculoskeletal problems, and cardiothoracic problems. Third one is the assessment through tele are valid, reliable for the various musculoskeletal conditions such as elbow, ankle, and shoulder, and non-articular lower limb musculoskeletal disorders. So in order to deliver tele-rehabilitations, we should have information communication device. So we have, in India is emerging in the field of information communication technology. In order to deliver a service, you should have, a system and also service model. There are n number of services or the tools are available, now, so that everyone can utilize for their practice. So when you want to classify the tele-rehabilitation system, this can be classified into three. The number one is the image-based system, sensor-based system, and virtual reality-based system. So what is image-based system? So it is like kind of real-time video conferencing. So if the therapist connect to the patients through a video conference, providing your consultations. At the same time, you're using these computer codes and capture the real-time videos. So in order to assess a particular component, for example, if you want to assess the neck posture or lumbar posture or spine posture, so what he can do during the real-time video conferencing, he could extract 1 or 2 frames from the video. He can use coordinates to assess the posture. So this is image-based system where it utilizes your kind of real-time video conferencing systems. Second one, the sensor-based system. The sensor-based, the name itself, it implies they use the sensors. For an example, if you are working on a cardiopulmonary rehabilitations and use a cycloergometer, you want to assess, the heart rate or pulse rate remotely, so that the sensors they can place on your chest. The therapist can monitor while the patient's performing their exercises. The third one is the virtual reality. It is emerging now in the recent past to provide, the patient can exercise in a virtual environment or the augmented reality environment, so that it improves the patient's functional capacity and the disabilities. So these are the 3 types. Broadly you can classify the tele-rehabilitation system. One is image-based, sensor-based, and virtual reality-based. When you see this, the number, some examples for this system. One is like the stroke wearable operative rehabilitation device. It's a sensor-based device. This is used on specific population of stroke. So this primarily it's going to give only the intervention. It's not going to diagnose anything. The second one, home automated telemanagement. They used for the multiple sclerosis neurological condition patients, and again they used for the interventions for these patients. So another one is a EHAB. It has been tested on ankle, knee, elbow, shoulder, musculoskeletal problems. They use this tool to assess diagnosis and interventions for these conditions. The last one, the tele-PT system, which is tested on the neck pain population, which has both diagnostic and interventions modules. So these are the some of the tele-rehabilitation system models. I know in India we use the mobile phones. Even now we are talking through the Google Meet and a video conferencing based training. So this is we already have a tool in India to use for these tele-rehabilitations. Okay, let us proceed further. This is very, very important. Physiotherapy assessment via tele-physiotherapy. As a physiotherapist, your interventions, the effectiveness of your interventions always depends on your assessments. It always depends on your diagnosis. So if you want to apply some intervention, for example, someone provides the dry needling to a trigger points. So you would, for example, for the trapezius or the neck pain, they're going to, apply a trigger point therapy using dry needling. So immediately he's going to assess pain. He's going to assess the neck range of motions. So this is, when you assess the pain and the neck range of motions, we're going to use some tools, outcome measures. These outcome measures should be reliable as well as valid. So in order to understand, the following slides, we should understand some terminologies. So I would like to introduce, two terminologies. One is the concurrent validity. What is concurrent? It is to measure how well your new test compares to well-established one. For example, I want to measure my neck range of motions via online using internet. So it should produce same results as compared with my real-time face-to-face assessment using my goniometer. So when I assess the neck range of motion, it should be equal to the assessment of face-to-face goniometer. So the concurrent validity, it measures to test, your new assessment that is going to, assess through your tele as compared with your gold standard. It's a concurrent validity. It's valid so that when you administer this tool or outcome measures over internet, it's going to produce the same results as compared with your clinical practice, face-to-face clinical practice. Second variable, second thing that I want to insist here, the reliability. How reliable it is, your outcome measures. It means it's overall consistency of your measures. For example, you assessed a person at the first time, right? Then after some break, so 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to reassess it. So and see what is the changes in the measures. If it is reliable, you're supposed to produce or reproduce the same results. For example, if you want to assess the radial pulse measurements, your pulse rate, the person who is on the bed, so you assess first, you got 72. The same person is going to assess after some times, so you're going to get 73. So this is is almost you get the reliable kind of consistency in your measurements. Within the reliability, you must also understand there are two things you should be aware of it. It's your intra-rater reliability and inter-rater reliability. These two components is very, very important when you administer the outcome measures via online, via tele. So intra-rater reliability, intra means inside. So intra means I. So I assessed first time, I'm going to, I'm same person, I'm going to reassess after some time. So it's going to, it should, it's compared between first assessment to the next assessment, that is test and retest reliability. The second one is the inter-rater reliability. It means inter means between two assessor. So for example, the goniometer assessed by the neck range of motion assessed by person A, and the same person, second, I want to repeat again for a clarifications. For example, you want to assess the neck range of motions using the inch tape. So person A is going to assess first, okay? After some time, the person B is going to assess the same person again. So you can compare and see what is the consistency in your measurements. So two things here is very, very important: the concurrent validity and reliability, and the reliability again, the intra-rater and inter-rater reliability. So very important. Again, second things, when you read a lot of literatures, we try to look at different parameters, right? Statistical tool that we see. So someone is used ICC, interclass correlation coefficient, right? A different kind of. So when it comes to the validity and reliability studies, we also use some specific outcome measures. Those who want to, those who are going to read any new articles. So you should understand this terminology so that you can be able to see how effective that the intervention intervention is. So it's very important here. If you want to assess the agreement, you're going to use Blunt-Altman plot. For the concurrent validity, use SCM, standard error of measurements. If it is less than 5, it is considered highly valid. Second one is the coefficient of variations. Again, it is less than 50% considered as, it is highly concurrent valid. And MDC, minimal detectable changes. When you come to this reliability, again, we're going to, in addition to all three, we're going to have the interclass correlation coefficients. If you see this outcome measures, this is only useful when you use continuous variables, continuous scales. But whereas if you want to use, yes or no answers or categorical variables, you may use kappa or chi-square statistics. Let us proceed further about the assessment. Is it reliable? Can you make, as a therapist, can you make a valid and reliable assessment via tele? That is a key question here. So based on a systematic review, they employed, they have studied the tele-based physiotherapy on musculoskeletal conditions. There were 8 literatures which is done on low back pain, shoulder pain, elbow pain, non-articular musculoskeletal disorders, total knee arthroplasty, ankle and neck pain. In addition to this, there are some technical feasible studies. When this 4 studies, they have not done on the diseased population or problematic population. They have done it on the, in the normal population in a simulated setting. In commonly, when clinical practice as a physical therapist, we're going to assess pain, range of motion, posture, your scar, swelling, your disability. We're going to administer different kinds of outcome measures, kind of participation restriction, disability scales. Let us see, what is the validity and reliability of these outcome measures. Let us first look at this pain and swelling and scarring. The validity and reliability. In ankle and shoulder and elbow disorder, they found it like, fat to moderate agreements. They use this, kappa statistics. It's pointed, it's like it's a very good, moderate agreements with the kappa statistics. It's very, very important here. What we need to understand is that the kappa statistics is going to use, they used, like yes or no agreements. How much the agreement between one assessor to another assessor. So another one, they also did it on the low back pain patients. The agreement was 0.94. Again, it looks very excellent, kind of agreements when they try to assess the pain. But whereas in neck pain, they got very high, agreements with the standard error of measurement is 1.94. 9.97. The CV was 9.7%. As I said, SCM, if it is less than 5, it considered as a high, validity. When CV less than 15%, it shows its high validity. And similar to this pain reliability, they have, it's a very good, good and excellent inter-rater and intra-rater reliabilities. So what it tells us is the pain can be assessed via tele, which is very valid and reliable. Similarly, we also have, swelling. They have a very moderate kind of validity, but they have a very excellent kind of reliability. So whereas the scar measurements, it shows very low concurrent validity. Maybe the technological innovation should be there to improve the understanding the scar while assessment via tele. The second outcome measures is the range of motions. Okay, so it yielded a very good validity with the kappa with the not kappa, this alpha 0.8. It means very good validity. And also, they are assessed between, I'll tell you later about this. Let us proceed with this. How did they assess via online? There are two ways they measured. One is like a virtual goniometer. These are the computer programs they use, measure the range of motions using these coordinates on pixels. So virtual goniometer for the lumbar spine, for the lateral flexions, they had a very good correlation coefficients. Pearson correlation was 0.69, and with the statistically significant difference was there. There's another study they use is internet goniometer. The neck range of motion shows very excellent validity and reliability as well. So what it tells us is we could able to assess the range of motions using the technology, via online. So when we see, further for the range of motions, in particular to neck pain, you can see, the neck range of motions, extension, flexion, rotation, side flexions. You can see the standard error of measurement, which is less than 5. So it indicates that kind of high valid, so that the neck range of motion can be assessed via tele.
Sir, can I take intervention, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Any questions, if any of you may have, you can please ask the questions. And in the meantime, sir, there are some people who are waiting to join in. Can you just admit them into the meeting?
Yes, I'll do it.
So requesting others to please ask questions. You can post the questions in the message box. And there's also some instructions for student participations. Please, the feedback of the session can be given at the link that is mentioned there. So please copy and paste that in a browser to give the feedback, but at the end of the session. All right?
Yeah.
Same, we had also mentioned during the announcements that at the end of the session, there will be an assessment of this session, and the link for that is os.lpu.in. Again, copy that and paste it in a browser to get an access to the online assessment system of the university. Your ID and your UMS credentials are applicable there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask me anytime during the presentations. Let me proceed further. We were discussing about the neck pain, whether it is valid or reliable. When you see this ICC and SCM, standard error of measurement, and CV, it clearly indicates that the range of motion of neck pain can be assessed, which is highly reliable, both inter-rater and intra-rater. This next one, what we're going to see, it's about the posture assessment. Okay, the posture assessment. The literatures, I know it shows, lumbar posture assessment shows very substantial concurrent validity. There are different reasons they have used to assess this posture in lumbar spine, but whereas it got, very good inter-rater, inter and intra-rater reliability. Whereas in neck pain, the neck pain we assessed, using this photogrammetry, using these three angles. One is the sagittal head tilt angle, and craniocervical angle, and shoulder angle. So when you see this Alt-Blattman plot, it shows, very good agreements. In addition to this, the SCM, CV, and MDC or shows, very good agreement between two assessments, face-to-face and tele-assessments. So SCM again is less than 5, and CV it's less than 15%. It shows the posture assessment via tele, it is feasible. The next one is the posture, the inter-rater and intra-rater reliability. Again, you can see the ICC and the SCM and CV as shows, within the normal limit, acceptable limit. It indicates that, they have very good intra-rater, inter-rater reliability. So it is, what it tells us is that you can assess posture of, neck and the lumbar spine via tele. The common other, kind of assessment that we do in clinical practice is the strength, endurance, motor control. So how did they assess the strength of these patients? They use, there are different measures using this self-resistance. They can apply the self-resistance while performing the movements, and also the, loading progressive weight. For example, they used, progressive loading on the knee extension for the quadriceps strength exercises. What they found was, very strong correlations for quadriceps strength, which is assessed via tele. And also using this self-resistance, they use good to excellent agreement for tele assessments. So again, second one is the neck assessment. Actually, we have assessed the endurance for the neck pain. What we have found was the SCM and CV and FDC found to be is very, less than 50, less than normal, acceptable limit, so that it indicates that the patients, can be assessed effectively the knee neck flexors endurance via tele. Again, the endurance, the reliability is got very intra-rater and inter-rater reliability. And the special orthopedic test, the special orthopedic test. So how would you, this very, very, sometimes it's very difficult, how are we going to perform a therapist is special orthopedic test via online. But the literature, they use in an innovative way, either they used the attendants, those who are, the patients, or the patient relatives. They can be utilized for your assessments. So what they did was to providing the real-time guidance when they're performing the special test, and also they play videos so that, while visualizing the videos, the therapist can perform the applications of orthopedic test. So what they found was they had a very good agreement for shoulder, elbow, and ankle. They have very good agreement with more than 76%, and also they yield very good reliability for the special orthopedic test. Another common outcome measures that commonly used for the neurodynamic test, the SLR, they used, kind of the R is almost, clinically acceptable rate of 0.6, which has got very good agreements. And also they used, neurodynamic test for the elbow and shoulder problems and ankle problems. They found, kind of acceptable level of agreements as well as moderate to high reliability. So again, it tells us this neurodynamic test can be performed through online. In addition to this, we also have this gait and balance assessments. They use this Trinity tool for the total knee arthroplasty. They found, very good, validity against this Trinity tools. Second one, they assess the kinematic observational analysis for the balance and gait. They found very good concurrent validity, the ICC 0.96, whereas the inter-rater interlater, again it's very excellent with the ICC of 0.96 to 92. So what does it indicates? Again, further, what we can these gait and balance can be assessed via tele using via online. Furthermore, we also have these functional outcome measures such as timed up, and go test. We apply on balance assessments in older people, and also the balance assessments. The Burke balance scale, we for the TK they're applied. The ODA disability scale for the back pain, and short form of health questionnaire, and the kinesophobia scale. All the scale has been applied, administered via the tele. What they found was they had a very good validity and the reliability. So what is the conclusion here? So what is the conclusion is the tele-based assessment is technically feasible. We can able to assess using the technology to measure pain, swelling, range of motion, muscle strength, and balance and gait and functional outcomes. But it's not, it's less technically feasible for lumbar spine posture assessment, neurodynamic test, and the special orthopedic test and scar measurements. But when you talk about this lumbar spine posture, whereas we have, the neck pain posture assessment using the photogrammetry method, which is highly valid and reliable, that can be administered via tele. So it also we understand, only we have a 4 and 8, 12 manuscript has been published on validity and reliability. It shows, scarcity of literature, scarcity of literature, which is, reporting the validity and reliability of outcome measures via tele. Another important drawbacks, what we have, future study, should focus more of real-time studies. These studies, what we mentioned, what we, studied before, were most of the study has been done in the simulated settings. There are need for the highly, controlled trials is necessary for this. Hello? Is anyone having any question, please? Okay, let us proceed. The target population is not been let me see. There are some questions out there. No more questions. Okay. The target population was not studied. They use most of normal population to administer this tele, and also the there are many factors that is affected the reliability, tele-based assessment reliability. One is the slow internet connections, the resolution of the low camera, poor lighting, and also inexperienced raters. When we see this systematic review in detail, what we found was the inexperienced rater has been used for the tele assessments. Very importantly, when you read your literatures, you must understand the statistical tools. As I said, they use kappa statistics. It means they use the yes or no, kind of agreements. So that is not going to give a very quantify amount of the reliability or validity. So it's better to use a quantitative assessment rather than using this qualitative kind of assessments. So the future study should have focus on kind of continuous variables to assess neck posture and other assessments which is employed in physiotherapy practice. Any question till now? I can take up some questions, then we'll proceed. Only a few slides are there.
Yes, please do ask questions. Anu, can you see any hand risen? Or they can unmute themselves and ask a question?
Yes,
They
sir, there was a question. There was a question by Dr. Tyagarajan that what are the reliable tools or reliability or validity in cardiac rehab in case of tele?
Okay. Cardiac rehabilitations, for the outcome measure, they use sensor-based outcome measures, right? Sensor-based devices. They use as surface sensor, body sensors to assess the cardiac rate or pulse rate, respiratory rate related outcome measures. So it is found when you see about this cardiac, the studies which is published on validity and reliability, there are, if I say it is zero, it's very one or two studies been published on this area. But most of the studies, they use the tele as an intervention. As I said, there was a recent study which is published in 2017 on cardiac rehabilitation.
Hello.
Hello, yes, sir.
So there is a question, if you have answered the earlier question, how can we do palpation through tele?
Okay. So as I said, tele, we are separated by the distance. But it's also possible, the palpate, for example, your tenderness, you want to assess the tenderness. Want to see whether the patient is having a pain or not. So what we use, we need to empower the attendant, which is next to the patients, or you may use the family members to assist you to assess the tenderness. But one thing we must able to understand that this is not the tele. I think some echo is coming up. Tele is not going to replace your face-to-face. It's going to be adjunct, right? So what we need to do, you can empower the attendants or the family members or the friends or relatives to assist in your assessments by providing real-time guidance, during your teleconferencing.
Excuse me, sir. One more question, similar
Yes,
to the pulse oximeter and some kind of sensors.
Yeah.
Is there any FDA approved applications? Is it reliable? Any studies
So there
related
are.
to any?
You're talking about only the cardiac conditions or any other?
Yeah, my question was reliability. You said the reliability was zero, no? So that's why my question was that.
The amount of study which is published on reliability is not there much on this your cardiopulmonary.
Okay.
The published literature is very less when you compare with other musculoskeletal condition and neurological conditions. With the cardiopulmonary, I haven't seen much article on this, but there are studies which employed tele to treat patients, cardiac rehabilitations, that kind of has been employed for via tele. But for the assessing the validity and reliability, there are very few studies are there.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, I have some few slides I want to. Any more questions? There are some questions. Yes. Okay. Can tele would be good option for special disabled child not getting much therapeutic remote area. Okay, Dr. Pradeep was asking, can tele would be a good option? Yes, it is a very good option because in a remote area, hilly area, it's very, the unavailability of the therapist, the resources where, tele can be extended to the people, in the inclusive educational system or in remote regions. Especially if you want, we have in a remote area, we have health educators, right? They have some place, they have Anganwadi workers or special educators. What we can do through tele, we can educate them, empower them, to providing this technical skills to them. So that is how we could, improve the access of quality physiotherapy services, those who are with the disabled children. in the remote area. Is there any tele method of assessment of tones? See, tones, as I said, we need to empower the family members or the attenders, those who are next to the patient. But it may not be, much valid and reliable. We don't know about right now. There are, I haven't seen any study they measured the muscle tone via tele. I hope when someone will do the, muscle tone assessment via tele, the for validity and reliability. There's another traveling physio. I believe tele rehab will be a trend soon. This would okay. There's another question from Neelam. How can we do assess for facial paralysis through tele-PT or phone only? Okay, see, we have the real-time video conferencing. Accesses will be there. If you have a very good internet speed, so you can connect to your patients so that you can give a consultations via teleconferencing. So as we do the face-to-face, you can have a similar kind of questions, kind of movements. You can ask patient to assess your facial nerves.
So shall I add a point in this case? I had a clinical trial on this regarding the facial paralysis, as Neelam ma'am asked the question. So there are facial expression rehabilitation they have tried with regular follow with the facial paralysis patients, especially LMN palsy.
Okay.
And they have done in Singapore one clinical trial, and they have shared their regular follow-up of the weeks also. So every day they progress with the exercises with the self-shot videos, and they have shared in the clinical trials.
Okay.
So for the information's sake, I'm just adding this point.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information. There's another question from Johnson. Most of the time, special orthopedic tests are passive, cannot be done in acute cases. Do you think the physiotherapy fraternity should develop acute test patient symptoms? Yes. Yeah, that would be a good. We should be innovative in developing, simulating the special orthopedic test. In absence of therapist, we need to provide different kinds of movements. We need to train by giving direction to the patient, so that the patient, when they perform certain movements, based on that movements, you can able to assess the special orthopedic test. For example, neurodynamic test, different shoulder flexion, abduction with the knee, with the elbow flexion and extension of your wrist, so that you can able to do your upper limb tension test of your nerves. It's possible, but it needs to be tested. It needs to be developed and tested via tele. And one of my master student, he did this tele-based upper limb neurodynamic test on patients with neck pain. There was another question from Sohaj Preet. A TR treatment will be possible with hands-on technique. What if we require modalities? If it is during the assessment. Okay. See, in tele, we must understand that we can provide exercises. We can train them exercise-based interventions. But I could see there was a study which is done on spastic hand. So what they have special device which is connected to a to the USB to the computer. There are some electrode which is placed on your forearms, so that provides electrical stimulations. Right? There are devices are still available, but that has been tested only specific conditions. We cannot use it for the universally for all the conditions. So there are lack of evidences on this area where you can apply the modalities via tele. In addition to this, talking about the hands-on skills, hands-on techniques. So myofascial release, we can teach them. You can guide the attender again. See, the very important, we need to empower the family members. So when they're coming to you, the face-to-face, you treat them and also guide and teach these people, I mean the family members, the relatives, to administer similar kind of, I mean, therapy at home. But this can be monitored while performing their exercises via tele is feasible.
So I think we can proceed before taking the other questions.
Yes. Thank you, sir. I'll come back to the question again. I have a few more slides I want to complete. So first aspect we have completed, that the tele-based assessments. The tele-based assessment is possible. So a therapist can assess the patients or physical assessments of musculoskeletal conditions via tele. The second one, what we're going to see, telephysiotherapy based interventions. When you provide physiotherapy assessment, is it effective to change patient's quality of life or changes in pain? So when you see this graph from 1998 to 2008, this shows the number of treatments that is delivered via tele. When you see this 1998, it started, but there is a small hike in 2002. Again, it's gone, after that it's gone very high. It's around, 250. Again, 2005, it is, came down. Then after that, it gained its momentum. It's gone, going above and above. It's going, the number of patients treated with the tele, it's increasing. So what the evidence of tele real-time treatment via video conferencing, other methods? So what is the evidence of effectiveness? Is it effective? So there was a systematic review is published in 2006. They used, they did the systematic review using different search engines. Finally, they got the 13 journals, the 13 articles. They employed the tele-based intervention for musculoskeletal conditions. Though they reviewed, more than 6,000 articles, they yielded with this only 13 articles. So these are the the conditions, the orthopedic condition they used. One is the knee osteoarthritis, shoulder hemiarthroplasty, total hip arthroplasty, and neck pain, back pain, hip arthroplasty. And knee, hip, and arthroplasty is a very common condition. Has been treated via tele. Furthermore, they also used OA knee arthritis. Again, the surgical procedure for knee and hip, and lumbar stenosis. Again, the back pain. So this is around 13 studies they employed. They delivered the interventions for these conditions. So what is the intervention they used? They just used kind of exercises. See, if you see these conditions, for example, the first one, they used self-management educational materials, and also monthly, they use monthly TR sessions, so that we'll provide them education about the osteoarthritis. So whereas another total knee arthroplasty, they used bi-weekly physiotherapy via tele. They applied or administered the exercise program via tele bi-weekly, twice a week. It's very interesting to note here the technology that they used. The technology that they used telephone here. For example, Allen et al. 2010, they used telephone. Again, there's another one study in 2011, Lee subacute non-specific low back pain. They also used telephone. I hope everyone has the smartphone with us. That is a potential, is enough tool to deliver, rehabilitation services. There are one study here, you can see this, they used Erickson et al. 2009, they used the video conferencing. So again, one more study, Muffet et al. In 2015 also used the video conferencing. So real-time video conferencing and the telephone, I mean, these are the most commonly employed tools for the for musculoskeletal conditions. So what we understand, what the literature, the systematic review shows. For example, this graph, when you see this forest plot, I mean, usually they present their meta-analysis. When you see this one, let me take this. Wait, just hold on. I just take the pointer. Oh my God! Just hold on. Sorry. Okay, this is the forest plot. So this plot is about the effect of telerehabilitation on physical function and disability, right? So it is a physical function and disability outcomes through tele. So when you see this forest plot, you can see here, so we have, it's the control groups and the tele groups. When you see this green dots, it is deviated, directed towards your tele. It means it is effective. The forest plot shows the tele-based assessment, sorry, tele-based intervention is effective in improving physical functions and disability.
Sir, sorry to intervene again. There are few participants who want to be admitted, sir.
Yes, sir. Just on. Just hold on. I didn't get anything, sir, now. So when they give request, I will admit them, sir. Similarly, when you see this effect of telerehabilitation of the pain, again you can see. Just a minute. I didn't get it. I think it's from the WhatsApp message. Okay, let us proceed. Again, the effect of telerehabilitation of the following pain. In telerehabilitation in pain, also shows. There's a it's favoring towards the telerehab groups. So the tele-based interventions, it's going to improve the pain condition of the patients. So what is the overall clinical message that we get out of this systematic review? The first one is the real-time telerehabilitation appeared to be superior when it's compared with current standard practice. It means when we compare with face-to-face interventions, which is not inferior, it is superior than the face-to-face interventions in improving the pain and physical functions in different musculoskeletal conditions. The second one, it is viable. So you can deliver your tele-based interventions via online using the information communication technology for musculoskeletal conditions. Particularly what we saw, neck pain, back pain, and the knee osteoarthritis, and we saw some surgical procedures. So in these conditions, even with your telephones as a tool to deliver the intervention, it says this, note, it is viable and also effective, which is superior than your current physical practice, face-to-face practice. So telerehabilitation via the video conference is comparably, it's not inferior to the standard face-to-face physiotherapy. So people say, how can I going to deliver physiotherapy services via via video conferencing, right? And we may not able to replace, the hands-on techniques, but still, I would want to insist this tele is not going to replace your face-to-face practice. It's going to be an adjunct with your current practice, right? So what is this bottom line of this tele with your video conferencing? It is effective, it's comparable, and also it's not inferior to your face-to-face therapy. So what we understand here, the tele works. Tele can be administered for patients with musculoskeletal conditions. The evidence says it's going to improve the physical functions of a musculoskeletal conditions, and also it is viable to deliver. If you see this, if you see the statistics, we have around more than 3,000 million people, they use mobile phone in India. So the mobile phone, the mobile teletherapy, it is feasible for Indian scenarios. So that's all now. Thank you for your kind attention. Is there any questions?
Yes, sir. There are few questions. Says that in today's scenario of COVID-19 pandemic, this telephysiotherapy will be boon for MSD and other neuro disorders. Okay. This is again for organizing, but the one question is, in certain circumstances, can we accept the patient manually on first visit and may provide follow-up sessions by telemode?
Exactly, sir. Exactly what I'm trying to say here. So I agree with your point. The tele is not going to replace your face-to-face. During this pandemic situation, what we are facing currently, COVID-19 pandemics, so we need to shut down our clinics, shut down our practice. So what is, the tele provides the edge to, have one consultations through face-to-face and assess them in detail and monitor them and provide them the real-time guidance when they're performing the exercise at home, not only for the musculoskeletal conditions and also for the other neurological conditions. We have clinics, we have stroke patients, we have spinal cord injury patients. The past 1 month, we are not able to meet them. We're not able to provide them any kind of services. So tele, it's open a way for us to, deliver, extend our services to these patients. I hope I answered your question, sir.
I'm sure, yes, they would be there. One question: how much is it feasible in India? This is the question, sir. Situation, it's a good alternative.
Therapy.
How much feasible is it in conditions? This is a question.
Feasibility in India?
Yes, sir. Using this.
Yes, actually. So when I talked to my friend who is in Canada, he also the physiotherapist. I asked him, how did you deliver your physiotherapy? He said, I'm using tele physiotherapy. So the government is promoting that. The government is supporting the providing the services to the public. But India, even though we have the very good infrastructure of information communication technology, and every people, access to mobile phone, smartphone, and the internet services, the awareness among our population using tele is very less. And also, in particularly the end users, the therapist, even though they have understand the tele is a potential tool, but the utilizing them, compel them to utilize in their clinical practice is very, very less. Again, I want to say this, the amount of infrastructure that we have in India and the Asian countries. So tele has wonderful platform to deliver our services, rehabilitation services to patients with disabilities, various disabilities.
Okay, good. Sir, any contraindications to use tele if you have? Can you share some? Any contraindications?
Tele, there is no contraindication as such. For example, I'll tell you. So when the therapist assesses a patient for the neck pain, so in clinically when he assesses, he has to look for some red flags. So he has to screen those red flags so that the patients may not, have some kind of misleading through his treatments. So therapist, whatever he performs, the physical assessments, a screening tool that we follow in clinical setting, he should follow. The second one, when you talk about this practice in our community in India, but there is no kind of practice guideline which is available for Indian standard. So we don't have this any guidelines that governments are supporting this. The therapist can start this providing tele. But whereas we have kind of telemedicine, which has been delivered by many many government and non-government hospitals. But tele as of law we don't have when government is not promoting to deliver this.
Okay, sir. But then we have a regular contributor here, Johnson Christopher. He is very hopeful. He says in India, opportunity are enormous. Especially LPU has a good potential to be the leader in this field. Interdepartmental coordination and research are the key. So do you agree with this statement? And Johnson, well done. You are a regular contributor. He's been time and again writing his questions and suggestions here. Well done. And sir, your take on this.
Thank you, Johnson, for your question. Yes, actually, one of my PhD scholar has been doing using tele to delivering rehabilitation services for the special childrens or disabled children in the remote area. So we have collaborating with the computer science department in our institute. We are doing this, and also not only that, we are developing few innovations in that we're going to include this tele as one of the components. So still we are coordinating with our innovation department in our school, in our institute. So we are in the process of doing that. So whatever we are developing innovation, doing innovation in rehabilitation science, we try to integrate the tele component into it as a final phase.
Okay, sir. Good. So there's one question. It asks us, can we use tele in Parkinson's patients? Because the patient's rigidity increasing when they become conscious that someone is noticing them. And if we will use tele, I think patients become conscious, then how we can treat them? That's the question.
So there are some, it's a very good question. There are some difficulties in treating those Parkinson diseases, but there are, in addition to this, there are some few articles also available to improve the physical mobility on patients with Parkinson's. And also there are some, I think 1 or 2 literatures they have published on Parkinson's, which is focused on cognitive rehabilitations in Parkinson's. But it's still, there is a research gaps, in treating various neurological conditions. I hope, participants, they can, take their interest to test, your hypothesis. You develop your own hypothesis and test on, your population, especially in Parkinson's. It's the best area to explore.
Good, sir. Dr. Monica ma'am is there. I think she would like to add, but I can read till the time she unlocks her mic. She feels it's just a mind block. Once removed, Indians can take lead like we have taken the lead in the IT sector. If she's around, she can ask that verbally. And again, if you would like to add a comment or two to wind up this discussion, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I would, to me, it appears very much doable.
Yeah.
After the presentation I also had my share of skepticism about it. But after the presentation, I feel it is very much doable. Like we Indians are known to be, very tech-savvy kind of people, especially the younger generation. So I think there should not be any kind of roadblocks in this. We can, in fact, take a lead here.
Yes.
I don't know what is the opinion of the others. especially the younger generation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sure there is a lot of scope for this, and we can really do. Since what I've understood as a layman, there is no particular law that governs or ungoverns it. There is a lot of scope, and why not take an initiative and do something like someone from us only mentioned that it has great potential. LP should take the lead in this, especially for interdepartment collaborative initiatives. I'm definitely hopeful that this is possible and we should make it possible. So, any
Dr.
questions
Suresh Mani?
end of
Yes,
this? Ma'am, you would like to add something? Dr.
I
Monica?
would be, in fact, I volunteer to be the first patient to be treated from LPU by telephysiotherapy. I've almost, healed my leg. I had a fracture. Dr. Suresh Mani knows I had a fracture of my right leg. So it is almost healed. Some problems are still there. So I'll be his patient through
Yes, ma'am.
telephysiotherapy.
So you have a first patient, and once she is convinced, I think she has the capacity and the influence to convince millions of other people who are fans also, who would be the fans also.
So I think we can, give a kickstart to this, right?
Definitely.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely.
Even for our clinics, we could start it, ma'am.
Yes.
For the deliver the services.
We can do that. Surely we can do that.
Yes.
So I think Dr. Suresh, that was a rehearsed and well researched presentation that you made, and I'm sure the facts speak louder than perhaps the words. Now facts are there. Your ability to show us that the potential is also there was immense, and the participation of our students and faculty was also great. So on behalf of Human Resource Development Center and on behalf of our head, Dr. Sunaina Ahuja, she was here for a short while, but then she had to go to the other platform. We are having concurrent webinars today. So I would like to thank the initiative taken, and I would like to especially thank Dr. Monica Gulati for always promoting the cause of learning, no matter where and how it will be, no matter how busy we are, no matter whether we are on social distancing or not. She always would like to grab an opportunity, and in her own calm way, she would show us the way. So my personal thanks are due to you also, Dr. Monica ma'am, and keep on guiding us. The participants, thank you to you all also. You were waiting eagerly for this webinar to start, and some of you could join in late, but thank you for being there. A request to all of you, please, for students, we have a separate feedback link which we have posted here. Just that, and also there is this testos.lpu.in. Based on the discussion today, copy that link in a browser and your UMS credentials would work there. So this is just the first of those 4 webinars that madam you had promoted, and we are in the process. So first one, well begun is half done. This is what I personally believe. So once again, thank you to a wonderful job, Dr. Suresh Mani. Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am, for gracing this occasion despite your very busy schedule.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we would like your blessings for the other webinars also, which are following from Monday onwards. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And thank you,
sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.